podcast now. Yo. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Average Commute Podcast. Your host, Jake, and your new host,
Mason
chiming in. John, we'll talk about John later. We're not going to talk about him right now. We're not going to, but we're back. We're back, and it feels good to be back. It feels good to be on a podcast. It feels good to talk, and it's good to have a new co-host. Mason is one of my dear friends from 12 years ago now?
Jake, we're almost 30, so it's 18 years.
17. Oh my gosh. Well, I failed math in school while Mason excelled in it, and I run a business. And so, but Mason's a genius. But so Mason and I, we go way back, and glad to have him on the new show. And it's gonna, we're gonna change maybe just the little things, but we're gonna keep the podcast generally the same.
But better than that.
But anyway, for the Mason, let's tell us about yourself. We met in Florida, best friends.
Yep. Immediately, messing with golfers in your backyard.
Yes, and shooting airsoft guns.
Oh yeah, getting in all sorts of trouble. And then we kind of lost touch for a minute whenever you moved to Arizona, but then we reconnected on Xbox and ruled Halo 3 and Modern Warfare 2.
Ooh.
The kings. And then I moved in your house. That was fun. And then went to college. You were more righteous than I was. And then you got to BYU. I went to what would you call it?
The far superior school.
High school on steroids, superior school. I would say.
High school on steroids.
UVU, baby.
Would you really compare UVU to that? Would you really call UVU a high school on steroids?
Oh yeah. I excelled because mediocrity was the bar. It was great. But I loved it. It was good. I got a degree in biology and a degree in philosophy. And then I became a financial advisor.
Yes.
I got my licenses, my Series 7 and Series 66. They're both very
Order
boring.
66.
But passing on my first try, beating out all those noobs who had been studying all through college to do this job.
And who don't watch Naruto.
They don't know the power of friendship. That's why they failed. And just because they're inferior.
Or friendship.
So if it means
they're inferior.
anything, I felt so bad because the guy that sat right next to me, he studied so hard. He got a degree in economics, and he was the first one.
Don't tell me he failed. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. I
shouldn't laugh at his misfortune, but he would.
What intrigued you? What intrigued you to go? I mean, we've talked about this for a little bit, and like I said, Mason and I go way back. We're technically brothers, but you were like a groomsman at my wedding. I was a groomsman at your wedding. We'd hang out all the time when we lived in Utah and stuff. Mason got me through biology. He tutored me
and chemistry
and got me a passing grade, which is all that matters. But anyway, what financial advisement? What drove you after you getting a degree in philosophy and biology?
Yeah.
Why financial advice? What intrigued you in financial advisement?
It was, first off, I didn't get a job for 6 months after graduating. I was doing Uber and Lyft and recently married, and so I'm having a crisis about I'm supposed to be the man. I'm supposed to be providing for my family, and I'm not even making minimum wage right now. Might as well have stayed home. But I had picked up in my rush to becoming an adult after getting married, I was like, I need to look into retirement because I may have to start planning for that one day. And I started reading, and I got down this rabbit hole, and I realized, no one told me anything that I should have been doing. I was 25 at the time. I needed to start it back when I was 18. But no one ever told me that. And so out of spite and out of anger, I became a financial advisor. With my dream would have been to educate the masses, but I ended up being a glorified over the phone customer service rep. So that wasn't great. And I was like,
for a bank who shall not be named.
The what?
for a bank who shall not be
For a
named.
bank who shall not be named.
You were a financial advisor for a bank who shall not be named.
Yeah, technically, yes.
Yes.
And the content was really interesting. I'm still really interested in investing in that sort of thing, but I'd like to do it more in an educational aspect. Hence, I'm working on a book that's never gonna get finished.
It will get finished.
I'll get there. But yeah,
you'll get there.
I did it out of desperation, but also a little bit of curiosity, a lot of bit of curiosity.
Mason is the one that really, I think you were the one that kind of intrigued me into stocks.
Mm-hmm.
I think someone introduced me to, was it you that sent me the invite to Robinhood?
No, you got me.
Or it might have been a friend of mine. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had a friend of mine that sent me like Robinhood app to get into stocks, but it was Mason who really like taught me like the stock game. And because we like just talk about it a lot and go from there. So he's going to add a lot of value there. But yeah, so you guys, we're back, and it feels so good to be back. It feels so good to be able to talk to our commuters again. And it's so funny, in our absence, our subscribers went up, our followers on Facebook went up, and it was like you guys didn't want us to talk, and so you started following us even more. But we're back, and you can't do anything about it. And guess what? We have some great announcements coming on. With Mason on board, we've been talking about different avenues and revenues to really revamp the podcast, and we'll see how it goes. This could crash and burn all in one night. This could excel in one night. And regardless, we're just going to keep pushing forward. But this is the Average Commute podcast, where we're going to do the 4 subjects, 2 bros, 4 subjects, and we're gonna dive into that first. And so, starting with that first, Mason came in clutch with a beautiful story. Mason, do you want to introduce the story for us? Do you want to tell us, amidst a COVID crisis, guys, I hope if all of you out there during COVID that you're staying safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Primarily safe?
In several ways.
Yes.
Which will...
Name the ways.
Well, I mean, safe in your activities.
Activities?
Yes, certain activities. Like, this poor lady at Walmart...
Ooh.
This is why I say be safe out there, guys. She was buying all the toilet paper. She was in the aisle. She was going to town. She got gut punched by a little old lady, maybe. And turns out,
tell you what, the stress levels were high. Were high.
And her water broke.
And her water broke in a Walmart aisle.
At least it was in the paper goods aisle. So cleanup was readily. I bet everyone was pissed.
You know what? I know where all the toilet paper went now.
Yeah, they're like, I could
clean up on
that.
aisle 5, literally.
Oh yeah.
Clean up on aisle 5, literally.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna read a great quote from right here. This is from the store manager. Crowd control, comma. I'm not like the best with blood, so that was my job, comma. Hold the sheet and crowd control, making sure that nobody invaded what privacy the poorest lady still had, said Jessica Hinkle.
They didn't sign
Hinkle,
up for
what
this.
A great last name. She didn't sign up for this. A Walmart manager helped to deliver the baby. The process took 45 minutes. Customers could be heard cheering, and the woman was taken away by an ambulance.
Yes.
And then this is my favorite part from Hinkle, the manager. Gotta love that name. Quote, a good feel good moment. Everybody's going through so much, and with a baby, it's like everything comes full circle. She says it a lot. Everything comes full circle. So, amidst COVID, lady had a baby, didn't get the coronavirus.
Nope.
Baby didn't have coronavirus.
Not yet, anyways.
But guess what? She has a lot of toilet paper.
And name her kid Charmine or something.
Is that what she named her kids? Charmine.
Yeah.
She named her kid Angel Soft.
Yeah.
Little
Quilted
Charmine.
Northern. That'd be like one of Kanye West's kids.
Ooh. Talk about Kanye coming back, man. Closed on Sunday. But you guys, this is the tip for you. Tip number 1. If you're super pregnant, send the baby daddy to go do it, or have a family member.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hate to have a baby in the middle. So I'll tell you a funny story. When I was working in the hospital, I think my baby's crying, but when I was working in the hospital, there's a certain code for when a woman goes into labor that's not on the L&D unit. And so I was walking through the lobby when I heard code, I can't remember what it is, like code white or something, code pink or something, I can't remember. and it was like code something, baby's in labor, right? Your mom is in labor, not where she's supposed to be, and they're like in the lobby. And I turn to my right, and sure enough, lady is just she's plopping to have a baby.
Ugh.
And so luckily you're in the hospital. So, you had all these doctors and things rush over. And I was one of the crowd control people. I was one of the people that we formed a circle facing outward. And luckily they were able to get her on a gurney and rush her up. But it was not a little pretty area right there. We had to put cones around it. It was not
just the wet floor sign set that down.
Pretty much. and my wife and I just had twins, and I tell you what, it's not a pretty sight. So I'm glad that lady. But if you're a Missouri woman, whoever you are,
That's
wherever
about
you
as
are,
good as it gets.
it's about as good as it gets. And you know what? Only in Missouri. And so I think it prevented. It says, this is one of my favorite parts too. It prevented toilet paper from flying off the shelves as the public anxiety about the outbreak continues to drive. So it basically just lowered the anxiety of everybody. Everyone kind of came together at that moment. So I guess maybe having a baby in Walmart will help people.
Silver lining.
Silver lining. Anyway, great story. Great story. First story, Mason. Great job.
Yeah.
Great job.
We had to lay off the Florida man because now you got the resident here now.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I'd always run my Florida man stories by Mason. He couldn't believe it.
Ugh.
Great stories, though. Great stories.
So sad.
Well, we're gonna dive into technology, and since John was our tech nerd, but Mason and I, we're gonna fill in where we can. We're kind of in that middle class of boomers and millennials, or generation. What do they like to be called now? Generation.
I don't know if we're Gen Z or if we're millennials. It changes with whoever you read.
Yes.
Gen X.
It's like the COVID advisors.
I don't know.
But the one of the things we want to talking about coronavirus, because that's like the topic everywhere, and I hate talking about it, but you got to talk about it because what else do you talk about?
We want clicks.
So, right. One of the things that I want to talk about was telemedicine, telehealth, and this will tie into business and finance. Because if there's a telemedicine company out there right now, I would say just take a look at it and see, because they're on the rise. So telemedicine and telehealth, they're two separate things, but they're kind of the same. Is a HIPAA compliant software program developed by, there's different companies that develop it, that allow the doctor and the patient to connect via like teleconferencing. And so, for example, Intermountain Healthcare in Salt Lake, and I just talk about them because I work for them. They have an app where literally like I pay $50 and I just get on with a doctor and I can talk to the doctor and say, hey, I'm having stomach pain, or hey, I got like something weird in my eye. Can you look? And hopefully your camera's high definition enough. And the doctor will be able to say like, hey, I can write your prescription if it's a low grade prescription. Or I can say, or they'll say, hey, actually you need to go see a professional. But this is like reduced. We saw a huge reduction in patient visits to the emergency room, which saved the patients a ton of money and us a ton of money. And so Intermountain took it and built their first telemedicine hospital. And doctors can virtually check in on patients. So like they have a giant like 55 to 65 screen inch TV in their rooms. And they have these ultra HD cameras, 4K, you know what it is. And what the doctor can do is, so as the doctor makes the rounds after the initial visit, sometimes the doctor doesn't have to come in the room every time. So he'll just log in and he'll check on the patient. It's one of the coolest things. But we've seen a huge spike in telemedicine uses and cases amidst this COVID crisis, because so many people can get on from the comfort of their own couch and saying like, I'm having these symptoms. Do I have the coronavirus? Or I don't want to go into the hospital and potentially be at risk. It's incredible, and doctors are using it like crazy, thus reducing patient wait times and increasing patient experience. It's a phenomenal thing. So you guys look into telemedicine. If you play the stock market, I don't know if there's other. I don't know if I can really name any companies, but I know that there are some out there that I would just look into the power of it. And honestly, it's not a bad business to start if you're into starting businesses. I know a guy that started one right now, and he's making some money. So anyway, anything to add?
And the good news is that you can actually get it covered by insurance.
Oh, can you? I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it's covered by insurance for some insurance plans. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, use that. It's cheaper than like going to an urgent care sometimes, which is super nice. So like if you have to pay out of pocket, I know, like I said, like Intermountain was like $50. And so I mean, how neat is that? We always use the example at Intermountain, like one of the commercials. What I always thought was funny is a guy hiking in the woods, and he like fell and broke his leg, and he's like, "Doctor, what's wrong with my leg?" And anyway, the doctor was like, "It looks like you may have to get that checked out." And I was like, "That doesn't really help the guy, but okay." But it worked out. So
I'm still stranded on a mountain.
Still stranded on a mountain. Maybe you send the helicopters and comes
just
get
a virtual ambulance. Thoughts and prayers. Change your Facebook profile pic.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. But anyway, but now we're going to dive into really the main subject that I'm really excited about, because this is why Mason is now one of the new co-hosts, and he's going to add a lot of value. The business and finance section of the podcast. And so, Mason, take it away. This is your forte. I'm going to probably chime in with some other things of stocks to look at and stuff like that. But anyway, take it away, buddy.
Yeah. And so we got those $1,200 checks coming in the mail.
Ooh, if you haven't applied for those.
Hopefully they don't get stolen.
Ooh, well, you don't have to apply, right?
No, they just use your tax return. So they do have stipulations. So as an individual, if you make under $75K, you'll get the full $1,200 check plus $500 for every child. If you make over $75K to $99K, that's when you start phasing out. So they'll either reduce the amount, and you get to a certain point where you have to pay back that one-time loan. So it kind of sucks.
If you make
But
money.
If you squeaked by right underneath that $75K, you're golden, baby.
So Mason, what can you tell me about this? So some people, they're praising Trump for this. Some people are hating Trump for this. What? And I don't mean to get political. That's not but like, what's the genius behind it? Is there genius behind this plan, or is it going to wreck our economy? Like some people say. Some people have said like focusing on the people rather than the businesses is better, but because they'll like put it back into the economy. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, that was Andrew Yang's platform, and you can see where that landed him. I was very sympathetic, though. I was Yang Gang 2020
were you?
Until it imploded because the DNC is so corrupt.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This stimulus package, it's kind of weird because it's the largest stimulus package ever signed into law in the history of the world.
Seriously.
$2 trillion just right off the bat. We've never done anything like that. Even like the 2008 financial crisis, that was $500 billion, and we made a big fuss over that.
Yeah.
We don't get very much of a share of that $2 trillion. The big things are that the Small Business Authority, which is the government department that specializes in licensing and assisting small businesses, they got like $50 billion that they're able to give out to small businesses that qualify for a no interest loan.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
They also gave another like $50 billion to the airlines because big businesses need it. I don't know. I don't like spoon feeding big business. I'd rather them fail, but that's our economy right now. I don't know if it's going to cause any negative short-term consequences. I'd much rather them spend this money on us than on bombs. So
right.
I think it's just a lesser of two evils, but we've dumped so much money into the economy as it is. Like I think it was a $500 billion bailout to the banks that wasn't really talked about, an $850 billion stimulus package given to Wall Street, and then this $2 trillion stimulus package that covers businesses and us as the individual. But I mean, that universal basic income, I think it's a really cool idea once the economy shifts into automation.
Yeah.
If AI starts taking off, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and a lot of us are going to be out of a job, even if we think we're skilled labor. AI, you've seen those AI scripts.
Dude, iRobot, it's coming back full circle. John, this is what you know what I'm saying? John and I talked about this. Elon is going to take over the world with iRobot. And here it's coming back full circle.
It's just like Thanos. It's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
Spoiler alert.
10 years later. Spoiler alert. No, but
I guess we wanted to talk a little bit about how are you gonna spend that money.
So yeah, and as we start to talk about it, comment below with how you're gonna spend that money, and we're gonna kind of give you some suggestions. But some people may take it to treat themselves. I know my wife and I, we're gonna use it to pay off some bills. And then maybe we can talk about refinancing loans or something, what your thoughts are on that. Because like I said, you know better than me. But we're going to talk about maybe some stocks to reinvest that into. But I know, like I said, I know we're gonna spend some of it, we're gonna save some of it, and then we're gonna invest some of it. That's my kind of my 3-tier thing. But anyway, like I said, the master mason, oh, grace us with your wisdom.
Yeah. So I really wanted to buy a hunting rifle. That's what was just $300,
Just
but
300 bucks.
I don't know if it was. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Everyone comment below and say Ashley's wife. Oh, Mason's wife is a meanie.
Mason's wife. Ashley's wife. No,
if I get 1 million views.
Yeah, if I can get 1 million likes, we will. If we can get at least 5 likes, Mason gets to buy the hunting rifle. Comment below, tag your friends, do whatever you need to get the 5 likes. I'm gonna create 5 Google accounts just to like it.
The key to a happy life is low expectations.
Yes. It's so true.
So, with this money, I like taking the 50,000 foot view to finance and investing and things like that.
Yeah.
So, this money right now, if you're out of a job, you just got to live off of it. Don't go crazy.
Please don't.
Your priorities need to be you need to develop like a 6-month emergency savings fund that covers your rent, your bills, basic food expense. Get that running, get that going, because most people do not have any savings whatsoever. Um, but if you think you have sufficient savings, treating yourself, that's always fun.
Yeah.
This is money that you weren't planning on having, so it might as well not exist. Or you can invest it. And right now, there's a couple different schools of thoughts. You can try to profit off of this economic downturn, or you can try to just play it safe. So if you want to profit, I don't like giving individual stock recommendations.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can't give like
SEC,
the 50.
The SEC won't let me be.
Well, let me be.
Or let me be
on
me. So
TV.
let me see.
Yes.
But transportation, all those cruise ships hanging out. Do you really think they're going to disappear?
No. And I invested.
Like,
I invested in some, and I actually, believe it or not, I've made some money so far.
Oh, it peaked, and then it
tanked. Yeah.
And
then it's starting to
little, market,
but it's, don't you think? I mean, this is just it's going to eventually rise back up because coronavirus. Let's face it, guys. I think we're already on the downhill slope of the coronavirus. I think we've hit kind of like that, like massive scare. You don't think so? It looks like. I mean, I'm saying,
no.
Yeah, but I'm saying like as far as like, I think that we've panic. That's what I'm trying to say. And once we start to kind of slow down as a country, and we're going to talk about this later, but once we start to kind of slow down and things start to balance each other out, I really do think things will start to equilibrate, and we'll get back to the point that you can anyway. You'll make money. That's my point. That's why I think it's wise to invest right now. That's why.
Yeah. And if you're looking for kind of short-term capitalization on the downturn, like I said, transportation, airlines and cruises, other things like that, disposable income. Any company that you think can't really transition into e-commerce but is a solid company and is publicly traded, that'd be a good option. Because right now it's not like the companies are doing bad or like that they're doing some bad business practice which caused the economic downturn. It's just that there's no consumers. So once the consumers re-enter the market, they're just going to spike. And the people who trade in the stock market are very bipolar. The people who set the prices in the stock market are very, very bipolar. So you got to capitalize on their emotional instability. So that there's quality companies there that may be suffering right now because people can't walk into the brick and mortar, but they'll turn right back around if they can survive through this downturn. Firearms and ammunition. You may have seen in the news that all of these really democratic states, the people are running to the gun stores and stockpiling ammunition.
I did see that.
So if you can jump on that, find some companies that you really respect, you can jump into that. Another thing I've been seeing is that the casinos are vacant. It's not like that's going to maintain for years and years. Like once all travel bans are lifted and like the stay-at-home orders are lifted, people are going to go back and waste their $1,200 if they've saved it.
Oh yeah.
In the casinos.
Yeah.
But then if you don't want to deal with the roller coaster, good practice during economic downturns is to go into defensive positions like utilities companies, because that's one of the last things that go whenever people are strapped for cash. You're always going to pay your electric bill,
You will, yeah.
And then precious metals. Those are the two easy things that you can jump into if you feel like you just want to maintain. You're not looking for crazy growth. You don't want to see a huge decline in your portfolio. Those defensive positions can really help lessen the impact of the drop. But the key in all of this is that you have not lost any money until you sell out of your positions.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
My dad came to me. He's like, "I'm down 20% in my IRA," and I'm like, "No, you're not. You're only down if you leave right now.
Right.
You're only down if you sell out." And him and my mom, they're one of those that, they probably did buy too much toilet paper. I'm not proud of it. But I am from Florida, so I mean, it could be worse.
I love your parents, though. I love them.
Yeah.
But so I was just gonna tell you. I was just gonna say, when this first started happening, I heard some people and even some larger names. They're like sell, and I was like, why? You know what I mean? Like it's eventually going to come back up. Hold on to it, and if anything, buy some of these. So like I was looking at some per Mason's actually recommendation. I was looking at some cruise line companies, some travel companies, and I noticed that the trend was for the past 6 months to a year, they were staying at like, can I throw out a number? Is that okay? Like $60 to $70 a stock, right? And so I was like, and now they shot down to $9. And I was like, so if they were trending like that before the virus, and you can clearly see that the only thing that made them drop was the virus. Eventually they're going to rise back up. And let's say they don't even rise up to $60. Let's say they rise up to $20. I invested at $9. I just doubled my money. And so I think that it's super wise right now. I mean, play it safe, of course. Don't just start throwing caution to the wind and start donating,
this isn't a move for your life savings.
No, but
not even for your IRA.
No.
I just want a little bit more spending money in 6 months.
Exactly. And I think it's also, if you're new to the stock market, it's a kind of a fun way to get introduced to it at such a low time in the economy. Yeah. And it's all a waiting game. You got to be patient.
A good way to look at it is that everything's on sale right now.
That's a great way to put it. Everything's on sale.
Don't panic. Everything's on sale. So it may have been overvalued before. We were I guess this is a conversation for a later date. There's a huge thing we can go into about how this market growth has been unprecedented. Like there's never been a period of growth that we've seen in the past 11 years. So it was coming, but yeah. Conversation. That's a cliffhanger.
That's a cliffhanger. That's a conversation for another day. But
we'll get you coming back for that.
Yeah. Comment, like we said, comment below what you guys want to, what you're thinking of spending your money on. If you're getting a stimulus check, if you're not, comment how you wish you would have spent your money if you got that stimulus check.
What are you doing to not get a stimulus check? Let us know. Are you hiring?
Yeah, let us know if you're hiring, right? But like I said, I know that I have my three sectors of saving, paying off some medical stuff, and then investing a little. And so I think that's my opinion. I think that's wise. Comment below how you're
definitely pay down those credit cards. Get rid of them.
Oh my gosh! If you have credit card debt, please pay it off.
Again, this money did not exist a month ago, so you're not gonna miss it.
No. And and play it wise, guys. And if you have any questions too, feel free to comment below for Mason, and we'll take questions, and maybe we can do answer 1 or 2 questions, or we'll do a segment that we can just answer questions about finance stuff. Just so you guys know, and I'll brag about Mason. Mason is pretty much a certified genius, in my opinion. The dude has done his research and continues to do so. He's not one of those that reads an article and is biased based off of one article. He'll do a ton of study and research into something. So if you do have a question, he doesn't know the answer, he'll find the answer, and he'll give you, to the best of his knowledge, kind of all the differing opinions about it. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I do read 2 articles after I am able to give that expert opinion, but yes, everything else is true.
I love it, dude. I love it. I'm so happy. Guys, I'm so happy to have Mason on this podcast, and we're so happy to be back. Honestly, it's a dream come true. The Average Commute podcast is something that I've always wanted to do. I think I shared this with you at the very beginning, but this is something that I want to do mainly because when I was driving, I started to get a commute to work when I was working in Utah, and it was like a 40-minute commute. and Mason knows what I'm talking about, just up to South Jordan. And there's only one
Mhm.
freeway. There's only one highway in Utah that goes from Provo to Salt. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it was like a nightmare. And I was like, this is my average commute, 40 minutes. I want to create a podcast around that. So here we are. And happy to have Mason be a part of it. Let's conclude with my favorite section of this all, which is the life section. We talk about life and we give you some good advice and some feel good things. You know, that's one of my favorite things. And so we're going to talk, like I said, this whole thing has been about COVID. May you rest in peace. Good old COVID, or the Corona, whatever you want to call it. Corona, yeah. And at the Daytona Corona. And my thing, what I want to talk about is something that's really hit home for me during this whole crisis, because I serve in a position in my church, so I deal with people there. I work with a bunch of people in a nonprofit, so I deal with people there. I own my own business, and I deal with a lot of people there. And so I've heard all these different things from people, like positive, negative, like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is the world coming to an end, all this stuff. And what's really hit home for me throughout this whole thing is the word opportunity. My dad over Thanksgiving, and I love my father, he gives out some great advice. You know, Mason can attest to this, and his advice is always funny because of the way he expresses it. But one thing that my dad really talked about was the word opportunity at Thanksgiving. And he said he was grateful for opportunity. So I'm going to talk about that today, the word opportunity. I think more than ever with this whole coronavirus thing, I mean, I'm going to focus on the positives that's happened to me. I've been able to have the opportunity to slow down. I work from home now full time. So I'm having the opportunity to see my kids every day for longer than I used to, because I used to come home around 5 or 6, and then I'd go take care of other things, and they go down at 8. So now I get to see them. I get to play with them more. I get to be with my wife more. I get to help my wife around the house where it makes her happy, which happy wife, happy life. On top of that, I've never seen more families. I don't know how Utah is, but in Arizona, we have a park just across the street. I've never seen more families outside riding bikes, going on walks, getting together and just like, eating lunch out in the park together. Of course, everyone does social distancing. Please do social distancing. But it's been amazing to me to see that. And that's the word opportunities. Find the opportunities in your life, despite trials, despite tribulations, despite things that may seem like they're going wrong to the collective audience of the world. Usually individually, you can find an opportunity within that to arise and to become or do the things you wanted to. I wanted to restart the podcast, and this has presented the opportunity to do that with Mason, because both of our lives have been able to slow down enough for us to do that. And it's been awesome. And so it's also presented the opportunity, I think, to really reflect on like finance and business and how I'm doing financially. Like I've been able to finally get grips on like where I'm at with everything, and I can focus more on my other businesses and things like that. And I've had a lot of business ideas that I've been able to review and really dive in to see if they're viable or valuable or not. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I don't know, Mason, if you had any thoughts on that, but that's the word opportunities really hit home for me throughout this whole coronavirus situation.
Well, it's just back to that thing Einstein said, where you can take everything as if it were a miracle or as if it were an accident. Not I hate this stuff. I hate it that says like coronas. We need to get closer to God, and this is a plague from God, and that's why God sent the coronavirus. No, people are suffering. People are dying, not just from the virus itself, but from economic consequences. And I really feel for like it breaks my heart thinking that people can't go to work when they otherwise would have.
Yeah.
That's what breaks me down, and that I'm infinitely lucky to be gainfully employed at a thing where I can work remotely. My wife is the same way. She can work remotely. So it's really pushed me to reflect on not taking too much for granted, because we weren't in this position a year ago. And it's not like we're rich in any way. Like we're not making 6 figures,
No.
but we have stability, and it's not something everybody has.
Yeah.
And it's given me a lot of time. This whole scenario has given me a lot of time to feel more charity and care for those who don't have the same benefits that I do.
Yeah.
That I don't feel like I've necessarily earned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
Why me rather than somebody else?
Well,
and why am I going to bemoan my success in my realm I don't know.
No,
I don't want
I
to
agree
seem
with
too
you.
bleeding heart and too hypocritical, but cat.
No.
It is tough times, and your perspective really makes a huge difference. You can either let this break you, or you can let this forge you into something new and more powerful than what started.
No, I agree with you. I think too, a lot of people have chosen to take this as an opportunity to be more charitable, and to, I mean, that's one thing too. Like, with my neighbors, we live in a little complex here with all these little townhomes and things, and my dog, I love my dog, bless my dog's heart, but he gets really defensive, and we just moved here really brand new, and he barked and growled at a neighbor, and they took it as a sign that he was aggressive and all this stuff, and in reality, all he was doing was just figuring things out, right? And he's sweet. I mean, with our kids, he's the sweetest dog ever, and so anyway, because of that, like, I've tried to be a really good neighbor and say hello, but some of them have really tried to distance themselves from us because they felt like they offended us or something. I don't know what it is, but that word charity has been pretty big too, as far as all of us have been checking up on one another as we see each other, like walking through the neighborhood. Hey, how are you doing? Is everything okay? And I don't want to downplay, by any means, the fact that people are suffering, and this is a real thing. And if I had $1 million, I would definitely love to help those in need, and maybe that's the opportunity. Maybe it's, if you do have means to be able to help, take the opportunity to help people, because there's nothing, I think, better than giving back, and that's why Mason, that's why I love Mason, is his whole focus on business and finance, and that is, how can I teach other people and give back to them, and I think, that's just, I hope you guys are doing okay out there in the coronavirus, but at the same time, I hope you guys are taking the opportunity to really reflect on that life is still okay, that you're still moving forward. If you have lost your job, if you are struggling financially, or hopefully help is coming soon. Reach out to people who are, I know a lot of accountants and things like that are willing to talk to people for free to help them get their lives in order during this time. Reach out to Amazon. Amazon's hiring 100,000 employees right now, at home working, which is pretty nice. I know it's only $15 an hour, but hey, it's a job. And there's a lot of companies that are trying to accommodate and help. But anyway, opportunity. Focus on the opportunity. So, bada bing, bada boom. Well, you guys, it's been great. It's been fun. It's been neat to see everybody. AZZZUUTT to all those who AZZZUUTT with us. And Mason, any closing remarks? We
made it.
We did it.
We did it.
This was Mason's first podcast. How did you enjoy it, Mason? Did you like it?
I did. Despite our best efforts, we succeeded. So,
I love that quote by Einstein, though. That was a baller quote by Einstein. Dude, yeah. Einstein was a G.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. Pretty cool dude.
He's pretty cool. Mason, will you ever grow out your hair and mustache to look like Einstein?
I'm working on it, but I want to look more like John Wick. Ooh. That's kind of my end goal.
Ooh. John Wick. Don't kill his dog.
Don't kill my cats.
Well, you guys, it's been another episode of the Average Commute Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in today. Comment below if you have any questions. Give us a like, give us a share, and we will see you guys in the next episode. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Goodbye.